Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the MylesHighClubPodcast. I'm your host, Miles. This is episode number 46. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas, holiday, whatever you celebrate in the December time. I hope you all had a great one of them. I was going to do the podcast last week, but it just doesn't feel like Christmas. The past 2 years, everything that everyone's gone through, I wasn't feeling the Christmassy vibe, so I was like, you know what, I'm not recording the podcast. It's family time, okay? I'm off work. I'm spending as much time with the family, dedicated to the family as possible, especially over this time because it's Christmas. So I allowed the podcast last week. I'm back this week for the typical YouTube podcast end of year wrap up. Again, I was thinking, do I do like the top stories, my favorite topics? You lot know me by now. All I like to do is watch shows, movies, all that goodness. So this episode is my top 5 TV shows of the year, top 5 movies of the year, but also the worst 5 TV shows and movies of the year. Now, just in case you're new to this podcast or you've just clicked on this video by random or you're flicking through your podcast and you've just seen this and thought, oh, let me give this a try. I am not a movie critic. I'm not a TV critic. I don't work in that industry. I'm not like a professional or a semi-pro. I'm just a guy with an opinion on movies. So I'm going to talk about all the things I've seen, okay? If I haven't seen it, I can't rate it. James Bond, haven't seen it, can't rate it. King Richard, haven't seen it, can't rate it. So if I haven't seen it, it's not going to be ranked in this list. But let me kick the list off with my top 5 shows of the year. Now, I don't think... I was going to say I don't think they're in order, but looking at it, there's a good chance that this could be my top 5 in order, but top 5 shows of the year. Number 1, actually, do I do number 4? Yeah, let's start with the bottom. If these are in order, I'll start with the bottom. Top 5 shows of the year. At number 5, Only Murders in the Building on Disney+. It was such a good watch. They confirmed at the end as well that they're setting it up for a season 2. It was basically about 3 people, Martin Freeman, Selena Gomez, and I always forget the third guy's name. But it's about 3 strangers that all live in the same apartment building. A murder happens in the building. Something happens in the building. Fire alarm goes off. They all have to evacuate. The whole building evacuates to a local restaurant just to keep warm. The 3 strangers all enter the restaurant, and somehow they all work out that they all like listening to the exact same podcast. They're all listening to the podcast. And because I'm sure it's a murder podcast that they're listening to, or like one of those murder mystery podcasts, that then inspires them to go back into the building. They walk into the building, they see someone's dead. This then leads them to start their own podcast where they try and solve the murder in their building. Twists, turns, revelations, shocks. Everything. I didn't see the main twist, the big main twist. I didn't see that coming until like the episode. So the big twist happens about 5 minutes before that. I was like, oh, is it? And then it turns out it was. So that was Only Murders in the Building. I suggest you go and watch that. Number 4. See, now I'm sat here thinking, I don't know which one of these 2 should be my number 4. I enjoyed them both thoroughly. Number 4, Squid Game. I've spoke about Squid Game. If you haven't watched Squid Game by now, you're missing out. Go and watch Squid Game, even with the spoilers, because you've probably seen all the games and you know what happens. You're never going to get the shock as if someone like I did, when all I did... Well, then again, it's in the trailers. The first game's in the trailers, so there's not much of a shock, but you probably know all the games. I would still say go and watch it. If you're someone that doesn't like watching shows with subtitles, it is dubbed. The dubbing is terrible. Is it terrible? Some of the dubbing is terrible. Some of the dubbing is okay. Some of the dubbing is just, it's bad. But I watch things with dubbing and subtitles on anyway, so I get 2 different lines half the time. Squid Game, great watch. Everything in my top 5 is a 4 out of 5 or higher. Only Murders in the Building, 4 out of 5. Squid Game, 5. I give Squid Game 5 out of 5. Like I said, I'm not a fucking... I've got to give them all 5 out of 5 then, haven't I? Everything above... Number 3. Let me stop dawdling my own thoughts. Number 3, WandaVision. Disney Plus. Most of these things are Disney Plus. WandaVision, Disney Plus. It was a Marvel TV show set after Endgame, all about WandaVision and her drama, her trauma, losing Vision, losing her brother. Creates her own fantasy TV show, sitcom sort of world to try and deal with the grief. And then the rest of it happens. I loved WandaVision. I get it. I understand the people out there who watched the first 2 episodes or even watched the first episode and just couldn't get into it. And I hate being that person that's just like, just get to episode 3, because a good show should have you from episode 1. In my opinion, a good show has you from episode 1. So having to tell people, listen, from episode 3, shit gets a lot better. But now you can binge it and you haven't got to wait a week. I would say if you didn't get into it, go back and watch it, because it gets 10 times better. And I personally thought the first 2 episodes were amazing. Number 2 on the list, Loki, Disney Plus, another Marvel TV show. This one came out after WandaVision. Did it? Yeah, this one came out after WandaVision. It follows. So if you've seen Endgame when they do the time heist and they go back in time, instead of being captured and sent back to Asgard, the Tesseract gets knocked out of Iron Man's hands by an angry Hulk coming down the stairs, slides to Loki's feet. Loki picks it up. The TV show picks up right from there. So he picks it up, goes into the desert. We get introduced to the TVA. He's now chasing another variant, finds out it's another Loki variant. Again, one of them's trying to destroy the sacred timeline. The other one's trying to understand what the sacred timeline and everything is. Such a good show. It's finally introduced us to Kang. He's not called Kang in this. He's called... What is he called? The man at the end of time? He Who Remains? He Who Remains. I'm sure he's called He Who Remains. And that's Kang, basically. I don't want to... I'm talking like I don't want to give spoilers. If you're watching this, you've probably seen the show by now. But Loki was amazing. Loki was great. Sylvie was great. All the alternative Lokis that we bumped into. Owen Wilson. Again, Owen Wilson smashed it out the park for me. And I don't know what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting the performance he gave. And it was a great... Cause at first I was like, I'm not against Owen Wilson, but I just feel like Owen Wilson's the same in every single movie. And I was like, are we going to get that Owen Wilson in this? And it wasn't. It was a completely new Owen Wilson. So fantastic. And number 1, the show that took the top spot, Amazon Prime original, Invincible. It's an animated superhero movie, and the story was amazing. The fights, some of the best fight scenes happened in Invincible. If you want to take all the fight scenes that happened in TV and movie in 2021, Invincible has to claim the top spot for best fight. And in the top 10 fights of the year, I would have to give Invincible at least 2. At least 2 fights. It would be the first fight you see in episode 1. I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't watched it. If you haven't watched Invincible, you're missing out. Go and watch Invincible. The fight in episode 1, and then I don't know what the episode number is. There's another fight later with Invincible and his dad and a monster. And I'll say that so I don't give any spoilers. Yeah, there's them 3. Yo, bad film. Absolute film, TV show. Do I do worst? Actually, I've got honourable mentions. Honourable mentions on the list. Crack, Cocaine, Corruption and Conspiracy. That was a Netflix documentary all about crack and the corruption and how the government used crack for their own advantage. I spoke about the one scene where they wanted to sort of make a stand against crack. So the president told his team, yo, go and buy some crack. So they got a crack dealer to meet them in a park right outside the White House to sell an undercover officer crack, and then arrested him and went on TV and was like, this was confiscated from a drug dealer earlier just outside of this building. Like, and the fact that how the government used their offshore money to listen, go and watch Crack. Night Stalker, The Hunt for a Serial Killer, another Netflix documentary, pretty much about a serial killer who just was going around LA just murdering, I think it was mainly women, but he was just murdering and raping people. Not even breaking, just going into their houses, killing them. And it shows you about the police tracking him down, trying to work out who he is. Listen, watch it because it's a fantastic one. And it's one of the documentaries where the last episode is so good. So good. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Disney Plus, What If, Disney Plus, Hawkeye, Disney Plus, all 3 Marvel, all 3 TV shows. What If was probably my favorite of the 3, all doing all the different scenarios from what if this was different from what happened in the MCU that we're used to. Alice in Borderland. If you haven't seen Alice in Borderland, if you don't know what Alice in Borderland is, Alice in Borderland is the TV show that walked so Squid Game could run. Alice in Borderland is based. These 3 boys go into a bathroom. I still don't know what happens yet. These 3 boys go into a bathroom. Something happens. They walk out, and it's just them. There's no one else around. They eventually meet people, and you've got a lifeline of like 3 days, I think, and you have to compete in a game to stay alive. Every time you compete in a game, it refreshes. So if you wanted a break, you could break and rest up for a day, 2, even 3. But on that 3rd day, you've got to compete. And it's the same sort of things. You compete in deadly games where if you lose, you die. The only way to survive is to win. Some games, multiple winners can happen. Other games, only 1 winner can happen. For those that have seen Squid Game, if you think the marble game was a cutthroat situation, episode 3, I want to say, of Alice in Borderland, all I will say, Alice in Borderland, episode 3, that game, and Hellbound, and Hellbound was, so Alice in Borderland, Netflix, Korean. Hellbound, I'm sure Hellbound was Korean as well, another Korean Netflix. Listen, the Koreans on Netflix, they are smacking it with this content. Got Alice in Borderland. Alice in Borderland, I've put in my notes, it came out in 2020, but I only watched it this year, which is why it's in my honourable mentions. Everything else that I spoke about was released in 2021. And then, let's do the worst shows. Worst shows of the year. Tiger King 2. I don't know why they did a second part. Joe's in jail. Carol Baskin refused to come on the show. It was basically just a catch-up. They showed us stuff that we already... the best thing about the first Tiger King is we didn't know anything. Tiger King 2, they were there talking about the trial, and I was like, yeah, I know Joe went to... We know Joe went to jail. He went to jail at the end of the last one. We know he's in jail. We know that when Trump was giving pardons, he was trying to get it pardoned. Like, Joe, you're gay. Joe, you were never going to get pardoned. That's not me saying that. Well, it is, but I don't agree with it. But Joe Exotic, as a gay man, as an openly gay man that was once married to 2 men, Donald Trump of all people is not going to pardon you. He is not going to pardon you. So yeah, that was I don't know why it was on. Waste of time. Crime scene, the vanishing at the Seesaw Hotel. This was a sad story that was poorly told. The story and the incident and what happened, truly a sad story, but it was poorly told. And they focus on the conspiracy theories more than anything else. After watching the documentary, they focused a lot of it on the conspiracy theories, all these online investigators, all the work they were doing. They even interviewed those people for this. It's about a girl who... She's Chinese, I think. She's Asian. She's in America. She goes off from her families to, I think, LA it's LA. I think she goes to LA by herself. And she goes missing. Family don't hear from her. No one hears from her. She's gone missing. No one can find her. No one knows what happens. The CCTV image of her in a lift looks like she's talking to someone. And then there's a conclusion. And the whole time after watching it, I was just like, it ended and I was like, you being serious? I was like, that's the way it concluded. They should have told you the outcome. This would have been a much better documentary. That's how bad this documentary was, I thought. If this documentary had started with, this is what happened, and this was the conclusion. This is about the story that led to the conclusion. That would have made more sense. It was just literally a sad story, poorly told. They rarely focused on what was actually happening and focused on what other people thought about what was happening and all different things like that. What else is on the worst shows of the year? The Irregulars on Netflix. That got cancelled. I watched all of it, and by the time it finished, I was just like, I was just like, what was this show? The acting from I won't say kids, the young adults. The acting from the younger cast was, some of them was good, others I was just like, Sorry for everyone listening to that. You've just let me take a big swig of water. Yeah, the acting was just meh. The story was, again, meh. It was Sherlock Holmes. It features Sherlock Holmes and Watson, but it's just, no, I thought it was going to be something down my alley, but it wasn't. It wasn't in the slightest. And that's all I've got for the worst shows of the year. Get in the comments, let me know your top 5 shows. Let me know if you agree with mine. What have I missed out? What shows have I not mentioned? Which is, you'll have to just assume I haven't watched. If I haven't watched it, I can't put it in there. I have got I did put Wheel of Time in Honourable Mentions, but I haven't finished it. So I can't put it in there because I can't guarantee it's going to continue being good. I writ this list, not last week, the week before. First episode of Boba Fett's just dropped. Again, it's only one episode, I can't put that in. But again, it was an okay episode to me. To me, it was an okay episode. It started slow, some great moments, but overall, it finished and I was just like, I wasn't eager for next week, put it that way. Every other show that Disney Plus has dropped, when The Mandalorian dropped, I was like, I can't wait for next week. And then when it dropped, I was like, yes, here we go. Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, I was just, But I will continue. We will see what happens with that. Top 5 movies. Onto my top 5 movies of the year. Now, I've already made one change. Literally, I sat down, read my list quickly before I started recording, and I've changed one thing around. I've swapped Ghostbusters and Shang-Chi. I had to. Ghostbusters was in my top 5. Shang-Chi was in my honorable mentions. So spoilers, I'm going to swap them 2 around. Only because, before I get into it, you know what? Let me do my top 5. Top 5. Starting with number. Is this in order? Hold on. Yeah, this will be in order. Top 5. At number 5, The Harder They Fall on Netflix. It was a black cowboy movie. I don't know what else you wanted. I don't know what else you want from me. Jonathan Reynolds, who plays Kang in the MCU now, featured Idris Elba, Regina King. Yeah, Regina King. I always get confused between Regina King and Regina Hall in my head. It's Regina King. It was just a great cast. The story, I suppose there was a slight little plot hole, but I looked straight past that plot hole. Again, it's a plot hole, but I can see people in real life doing that. So whether that negates what I'm saying, who knows? But The Harder They Fall, black cowboy film. I think when I reviewed it, I didn't care for the twist that came at the end, but it is what it is. I still enjoyed the whole film. The twist didn't ruin the film for me. I don't know if I said this in my last review, but I've watched it again since and thoroughly enjoyed the film. Number 5. Number 4 is Dune. Top 5. Dune. I don't know what it... Dune. That one. The story that inspired the Star Wars franchise. They did their movie. I think they did a movie in the 80s. This wasn't a sequel. I think this was like a reboot or a fresh start for Dune. I loved it. It was it started off slow. Don't get me wrong, it started off slow. I dropped off in the cinema at the start. I was, every 5 minutes, I just kept nodding off. But after about 20, 30 minutes into it, glued to the screen, thoroughly enjoyed it. Amazing story. It looked amazing. The bits of action that we did get were dope. I would have loved more action in such a long film, but it was dope. I didn't realise that it was a part 1. There was nothing. I might have missed. I think I missed the pre-movie interviews and stuff where someone must have said it was a part 1, but it was just called Dune. It wasn't Dune. It wasn't Dune part 1 or anything like that. So I saw Dune and then it finished and it was just like part 1. I was like, what? But now I'm really excited for part 2. And what upset me is they haven't started filming for it yet. So I thought they would have made this film and then started the second one. Apparently, they were waiting to see what the feedback was on this before they just wasted money and started. So hopefully everyone loved it. I think it got great reviews. Hopefully they're working on number 2. I think they said 2-3 years time, which is a fucking long wait. But if it's as good or better than the first one, I do not mind. Number 4? Number 3. A Quiet Place 2. Was it? I don't know if it was as good as the first one, but the first one was 10 out of 10 in my book. So this is a 9 out of 10 film. I thought A Quiet Place 2 was dope. I loved the introduction of cutting all the audio whenever we were getting the deaf girl's point of view. It didn't happen in the first one, but in this one, whenever you were with the deaf girl or it was her point of view, it would just cut all the audio, and straight away I was just like, this is horrible. in a world where you can't make a sound, somehow this deaf girl is still alive. That was one thing. For all the series, like, she is deaf. How the hell has she lasted this long? And then to top it off in the second movie, she wanders off by herself. Listen, by one half of me knew, I was 90% sure, I was like, she ain't gonna die. She's the main character. I was 90% sure. But 10% of me throughout this film at times, I was just like, oh. I was like, she's got to. I was like, she's got to. I'm not going to say anything else apart from, because you haven't seen Quiet Place 2. I don't think it's in the cinema. If you didn't watch it in the cinema, you've missed your chance. But as soon as it drops, or if you can go on Amazon Prime and rent it, turn it up, close all the curtains, turn all the lights off, so the only light you've got is the TV light. And just have it like that. Number two, Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi was number 2. Now, this is, in my head, I was debating what's actually a better film between my number 2 and my number 1. Before I reveal my, you probably can guess, if you watch the last podcast, you can guess what my number 1 movie of the year is going to be. But I think as a standalone movie, if I took the 2 movies as standalone movies, Shang-Chi is the better movie. But when I take in the whole totality of the Marvel universe and the history of Marvel movies, and that's all I'll say for people that haven't seen my number 1, my number 1 pick is the overall better movie than Shang-Chi. But Shang-Chi was amazing. Highlight the fight scenes. The fight scenes in Shang-Chi, every last one of them, so dope. It was like Marvel meets Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with the Chinese fight style and the way they were just floating, and it was dope. Fighting was dope. Story was dope. The casting, the whole act. Marvel don't miss with their casting. Apart from a movie I'm going to put, I don't know. I don't want to put it in the worst movies of the year, but we'll see when I get there. The one Marvel movie that I think the casting wasn't, or something, just something didn't add up. It didn't add up now that I've watched it again because it's available on Disney+. But Shang-Chi, again, the only thing I didn't like about Shang-Chi was the comedy guy on the bus who's recording. The first few interactions with him were cool. After that, he just got annoying for me. But everything after that, meeting the... Motion detected at the front door. Thank you, Alexa. Meeting the guy who played the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, the fake Mandarin. Meeting him in jail with the little faceless flying pig thing. Is it Morris? I want to call him Morris. I think that's what he calls him. That was great. Everything about this movie was great. And my number 1 pick, my personal number 1 movie of 2021. I've only seen it once. I haven't been back to the cinema to see it again, so it might just be recency biased or just how all the fan service. It's Spider-Man. Spider-Man No Way Home takes my number 1 spot. I don't care now, okay? This movie's been out for 2-3 weeks, so if you get something spoilt for you watching this, I'm sorry. If you still haven't seen Spider-Man, just skip ahead like 2 minutes. What can I say about Spider-Man? We got the return of some of the best superhero movie villains ever. Not just Marvel. You take all the superhero movie villains. Green Goblin from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. They came back. Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina reprising their roles. We also got Jamie Foxx's Electro back. We got the Lizard back. We got Sandman back. We also got Tobey. We got Tobey Maguire back as his Spider-Man. We got Andrew Garfield back as his Spider-Man. We got all 3 Spider-Mans interacting. We had the sad part of them talking about who they've lost when they're trying to console Tom Holland. You've got them working together, all geeking out, trying to help trying to work on a way on how they can help the villains from their timelines rather than just killing them and sending them back to their death. We've got them fighting together, the fighting not really working, then them all following Tom Holland and fighting as a team. We got the whole thwip and how Tobey Maguire's just comes from his body and Tom Holland and Andrew have to make their own. We got Andrew Garfield acknowledging that he's the lame Spider-Man. Because again, I feel like I'm harsh when I talk about it. When I say Andrew Garfield's the worst Spider-Man, I don't think it's anything against him. It's just like, I just didn't believe the way that they made him portray that Spider-Man. And the stories weren't the best. Sorry, Andrew. But yeah, so that was dope. I loved all that with Spider-Man. Aunt May, them killing Aunt May. I had to fight back tears when she just died in his arm. Because when she got hit, I was like, oh shit. He hasn't been to her in a while. When he gets to her, she's going to be dead. But she's not. And he picks her up and they start walking. And I was like, oh my God. I really thought they were going to do it. And then she collapsed to the floor and he pulls his hand back and sees the fuck. Listen. Spider-Man No Way Home. Amazing. I love the whole Doctor Strange involvement, having Peter not beat Doctor Strange, but simply just using simple geometry, working out what the Mirrorverse is to actually get himself out and trapping Doctor Strange in there until Ned accidentally releases him. The whole spell, they've seen the universe break and people coming in, and then the spell to make everyone forget. Such a good way, because there's another 3 Spider-Man movies coming. We've got another 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. So by this third Spider-Man movie, by having Doctor Strange do that spell, having everyone not only forget who Peter Parker is, because, well, I'm assuming his last living family member is now dead. Everyone forgets who Peter Parker is. They don't know who Spider-Man is. It means they can tell completely new stories. We can see Kraven the Hunter, Venom. We could get an MCU Venom. I hope they don't do Tom Hardy. Nothing against Tom Hardy, but I just feel like Marvel are great at casting. I feel like they can cast a really good Venom and give us the Venom that we deserve. The Venom we deserve, the Venom we have not yet seen on the screen, the Venom we deserve. I feel like the MCU can bring that in one of these Spider-Man movies. I don't know, maybe have like a Venom and Spider-Man versus each other movie in the first one, and then introduce Kraven the Hunter at the end of the first one, and then they have to do it's like a triple threat between all 3 of them in the second one, and then the third movie is Venom and Spider-Man teaming up to try and bring down Kraven. Who knows? Maybe they'll do a proper Sinister Six. I don't know. A boy can dream. Honourable mentions. So, honourable mentions in my movies. I've already said Ghostbusters. I thought this Ghostbusters was dope. It wasn't a reboot. It was a sequel to the original 2 Ghostbuster films. Or is there 3 Ghostbuster films? I think there's 2 Ghostbusters. It was a sequel to that, so it's the third one I want to say. It was directed by the son of the director of the original. The original cast came back at the end. That was a nice little thing. I thought it was a really good story. It was a really good story. Great action. The girl that played Phoebe stole the show. To say she was in a film where Bill Murray was casted, where Paul Rudd was a main character, where the guy from Stranger Things that played Will was in it. She shone. She got it for me. She should win an award for whatever. She should win an award for something this year. What else have I got in there? Suicide Squad. I loved Suicide Squad, okay? The first one, didn't really care for, with Will Smith and the aliens and the weird things. Didn't care for that. There's the reboot with Idris Elba, John Cena. They kept Margot Robbie, Polka Dot Guy, Starry, loved it. Absolutely loved this film. Not enough to make my top 5, but it's just a good, fun DC film. And that's what DC need to do more often. Good, fun films. Free Guy, another film that I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Again, I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, this looks like it'll be a nice, fun film to watch. And it was more than a fun film to watch. It was a great little adventure. Ryan Reynolds as the main Free Guy. He plays an NPC, so a non-player character in a gaming world who then becomes self-aware. You find out later that it's AI, so the game's an AI game. So he's just a piece of AI that ends up becoming self-aware and the actual first proper artificial intelligence in the world. There's a plot. I think the main plot is the game designers. Basically, the game designer of Free Guy stole the code from a different game. One of the people doesn't work for him anymore. The other one still does. You can guess what happens, but it's still a very good watch. Disney Plus. Godzilla vs. Kong. It was 2 monsters going at it, and they fought quite a few times. Good action. Didn't care for the human side of it, but I got to see Godzilla and King Kong just fight and beat each other up, and then Mechagodzilla came and fucked the whole shit up, and then they had to team up and fight, and it was a monster movie. There's not much more to say than it was a monster movie. Raya and the Last Dragon, my animated movies. This was a Disney Plus. Did it come out in the movies? No, Raya and the Last Dragon came out on Disney Plus earlier this year. I love Raya and the Last Dragon. It's a Disney movie, not a Pixar movie. Yeah, that's correct. It's Disney, not Pixar. I loved it. Luca, another film that came out in 2021. That's a Disney film as well. No, I don't know who it is. It's Disney or Pixar, one of the two. That was a great film. The Mitchells versus the Machines. That was an animated one on Netflix about a family who survive a phone's artificial intelligence trying to take over the world, and then they've got to try and somehow defeat the AI. Fun family adventure. All three of those films, Luke and the Last Dragon, Rare and the Last Dragon, and The Mitchells vs. the Machine. Great family adventure movies. You don't even have to watch it with kids. I've watched them both without kids. And The Mitchells vs. the Machine. I've also watched that little action adventure without kids as well. Worst movies of the year. I don't want to talk about them. Home Sweet Home Alone. Why? I've already spoke about it. The kid wasn't likable. The kid's mom wasn't likable. The bad guys weren't really bad guys. They were also too stupid for their own good. Pointless movie. Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. Again, why? We saw Carnage for about 5 minutes. Every time you saw Carnage or Venom, it was pitch black, so you couldn't really see anything. The fight scene, I have no idea what happened, how it happened. Apparently a priest died. Who knows? Terrible. Coming to America 2, I know it was never going to live up to the first Coming to America, but that was what it was. What else have I got? Bliss. I bet you've never even heard of it. Amazon Prime show. It starred Owen Wilson and Salma Hayek. Something to do with time travel, I think. It was too confusing for its own good. I think it was about time travel or about two different time zones or worlds, and you've got to work out which one's the real one. And who knows? Who knows? It was one of those films where I watched it once, didn't understand it, even though I paid full attention to it. I was like, I need to watch it again. Watched it again, still didn't understand it. Went to watch it a third time, and I was like, you know what? I don't need to do this. Clearly, this film is not for me. Clearly, me and this film are not meant to be. So I just turned it off. And that was my top 5 TV and movies this year. Top 5 best, top 5 movies and TV shows, and then worst movies and TV shows of the year. Get in the comments and let me know what your top 5 TV shows, movies were. What was the best movie you've seen all year? What was the worst movie? Is there anything you recommend that I need to watch before 2022? Because again, I can't wait for 2022. The content that is coming out in 2022. From one side of things, just Marvel content alone that is coming out in 2022, I can't wait for. And then there's other things. There's Harry Potter games. There's a Lord of the Rings TV show. But you know what? We'll talk about it next week. That's my topic next week. So tune in next week to hear all the things that I'm looking forward to coming out to in 2022. If you know anything that's coming out, drop that in the comments as well. Because if I don't know about it, I can do some research, and that might make my list for what I'm excited for in 2022. It's New Year. I'm recording this on the day it comes out, so it's the 30th. It's New Year's Eve tomorrow. We are entering 2022 on the weekend. I have zero plans. At this point in time, I am staying home. I don't even know if I'll be awake at midnight. All I know is I'm staying home. Might just play PlayStation. I might just play PlayStation and see who is online as the clock strikes 12. I don't like going out. If you've heard this podcast before, you've heard me say this plenty of times. I don't like going out. If I don't like going out on a normal weekend, I don't know what makes you think I want to go out on New Year's when everything's double, triple the price. There's a lot more people. Everyone's drunk, and Omarion is out there somewhere. Not doing it. No, I don't. Listen, touch wood. I'm one of the, I think it's a few. I'm one of the lucky few that has dodged all these variants, okay? They've been in my house twice. I've just been I bobbed and weaved COVID. And then COVID sent Delta, and I bobbed and weaved Delta. Now Omarion, Megatron, or whoever's dancing around in the streets, and I'm just weaving them guys. I'm weaving that one as well. So I don't feel like I need to go out New Year's. I don't know if any of my friends are doing like a quiet chill thing. I might. I mean, there's space for 4 other people comfortably, so I might just do, nothing too, a nice little calm. Maybe get the Mario Kart out, get a board game going, do some at New Year's, and just enter the New Year's on a nice chill vibe. Again, if you've got New Year plans, I was gonna say let me know. I don't care unless you're on a nice vibe with minimal people. You can keep your ideas to yourself. But everyone, have fun this weekend. If you are celebrating New Year's, however you celebrate New Year's, have fun, stay safe, don't get arrested or COVID. Try and avoid both of those. Try and avoid getting both of those things. Don't get arrested, stay out of trouble, don't get COVID, stay safe. Whether that means don't go out, whether that means you wear a mask to a club, whatever it means, whatever you do to keep you safe, do you. Just make sure you're safe doing you. I've been Miles. This has been the Miles High Club podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until the next time, I'll see you guys in 2022. It's been 2021. What a fucking year. Peace.